can you see anything? It was all I could do to
This
get
call
out of
is
the
now
words.
being recorded.
Yes,
This
wonderful
call is
things.
now taking notes.
Howard Carter's words capture the raw wonder of archaeology, the movement, unedited material, culture. When it comes forth to life, when discoveries reveal the tangible reality of the past, they often remain silent on political intent, the dynastic titles, and the exact dates until epigraphy steps in to give them a voice. So, pairing these wonderful things with inscriptional records demonstrates how the triangulation of archaeology and epigraphy fills the characteristic silences of history, transforming isolated artifacts into a complete dynamic narrative. A very warm good evening to the galaxy of intellectuals present here for another session of GSTS in the continuation of our series of the most exquisite articulations from the best of our speakers. I am Sundri Kanpal, a PhD scholar from the Department of English, University of Delhi, and I consider it a heartwarming pleasure to welcome you all on this another milestone of our platform, where today, in the course of surpassing our double and a half century of our sessions, we achieve another milestone today. And this wouldn't have been possible without the enthusiastic presence of our audience, the most celebrated intellect of our chief guests, the resilience and research aptitude of our speakers, and most prized guidance of all the people who have stayed so far. So today we thank all of the people who have participated in this journey so far and welcome the ones who have recently joined us. GSTS in this journey has made significant and a lot of waves with its remarkable achievements. We were featured in the Times of India post our 200th talk session. We've also had the privilege of being the part of the prestigious Changemakers Summit by G20. Our research extended far and wide with telecasts on Doordarshan News, not once, not twice, but thrice, featuring in popular shows like Good News, Jasba India Ka, and we've had the honor of grooming undergraduates, postgraduates, MPhil and PhD scholars, as well as nurturing a whole new generation of scholars from schools. So, with a vibrant spectrum of topics, GSTS 285 marks another incredible high point in our journey. So, we are standing proudly at the threshold of history where we are now just 15 sessions shy of the epic 300th milestone, continuing to inspire, educate, and leave an indelible mark on the landscape of student research. So the team behind this execution is worth to be mentioned, which includes Mr. Ankit, Mr. Shubham Tiwari, Mr. Saurabh Singh, Mr. Ajay Gupta, Ms. Manvi, Mr. Shailendra, Mr. Manthan, Ms. Srishti, Ms. Preeti, and me. And all of us have been working and exploring various domains of knowledge under the guidance and motivation of Dr. Manish Karwar, who is contributing his untiring efforts as the founder and advisor of the platform. With that being said, it is now time to invite and introduce our honorable guest of honor for this session. It is an honor to welcome our today's guest of honor, Mr. Rahul Bakshi, who is Assistant Superintending Archaeologist at the Archaeological Survey of India, Ministry of Culture, Government of India. A BHU Gold Medalist in Ancient Indian History, Culture, and Archaeology, with over 9 years of experience, Mr. Bakshi bridges ancient heritage and modern technology. His expertise spans archaeological site museum management, immersive digital experiences, and field exploration, particularly across the Western Himalayan region. Some of his key career highlights include iconic national projects, which include the Desh scheme under the Union Budget 2026, where he was a part of the development of the five iconic archaeological sites and the development of the Bharat Shri Epigraphic Digitization Project. Besides, he has also been a part of museum transformation, where he has spearheaded major site museum upgrades and digital experiencing zones, including work at the Nalanda Archaeological Museum and the Humayun's Tomb at the World Heritage Site Museum. His fieldwork and research is very extensive, as he has worked across Himachal Pradesh and key excavation sites at Karanpura and 4 MSR Binjore in Rajasthan. His academic specialization is in Indian art, architecture, ancient painting traditions, and West Himalayan cultural history. So we are honored to have with us a visionary professional like you today, whose work breathes life into India's rich history. So it is definitely to see and learn from you that you have uncovered ancient civilizations in the field of transforming how millions of people experience our national treasures through cutting edge digital technology and continue to shape the entire landscape of the Indian heritage. So, before we proceed with the session, we would like to take some of your initial remarks, along with your permission to get started with the further proceedings of the evening.
Um, much. Am I audible?
Yes, you answer.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me as a guest of honor in this GSTS. Thank you, Shamlal College, Delhi University, for this. Um, so my intern, I met Sanskriti when she joined Archaeological Survey of India as an intern back in 2025. And she was given the charge of a museum section. So that's how my association with her started. Now, before I start, I must say that Sanskriti, she's a very jovial and spontaneous student. She would always relentlessly ask questions related to the subject or to the office procedure. And sometimes even I feel that, being in a central government job, it is so demanding that probably I could not give much time that she deserved as an intern. But nevertheless, I try to introduce her with the working style in ASI. Since I am looking after the museums of ASI, so I try to introduce to the broad concepts of museum, the archaeological site museums, which we kind of monitor, develop, and maintain. And beside this, yeah, I mean, I would love to hear Sanskriti. The topic she chose, it is pretty much big and it has a weightage. Um, it has been curated very nicely. I'm sure that she has put definitely much of efforts. I love the title and how the words, the metaphors used, the silent side and the speaking stone. So yeah, I'm all ears. I'm ready to hear from Sanskriti. And I wish Sanskriti all the best. And please give your full efforts and let us start the presentation.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words and your presence on a busy Sunday evening. And we would get back to you once Sanskriti is done with our presentation to take in your suggestions, insights, and further comments. So, we all know that history is rarely a single uninterrupted narrative. It is kind of a tapestry that is woven from what remains, and it is equally shaped by what has been left unsaid. So, in the studying ancient and early medieval India, our understanding relies heavily on two foundational pillars that include epigraphy and archaeology. So, while inscriptions capture the deliberate, official, and often at times elite descriptions and declarations of their time, archaeological excavations unearth the unwritten, the material realities of life, what we call them. So, read in isolation, each discipline carries its own importance, its own characteristic silences. However, when we bring together these two through integrated triangulation, they can also challenge, correct, and illuminate one another in several remarkable ways. So, today we dive into this particular critical methodological paradigm to see and explore how this cross disciplinary synthesis of epigraphy and archaeology can help us to transform and perhaps develop our understanding of the past. So, to lead us through this fascinating subject, it is my absolute privilege to introduce our speaker for today's session, Ms. Sanskriti, who is a graduate scholar from Mata Sundri College for Women, University of Delhi. So, Sanskriti, the stage is yours, and the topic that she will be presenting before us today is the silent site and speaking stone. So, the stage is yours, and good luck to you, Sanskriti.
Thank you so much, Amriti ma'am. Can I please have the VT? Amazing. Good evening, everyone. Even before I begin, I would love to thank GSTS team, Manish sir, especially Manvi ma'am, and Rahul sir to be here today, and the team for providing me the opportunity to present my topic of choice once again on GSTS. I am Sanskriti, a recent research graduate from Mata Sundri College for Women, University of Delhi. And today I will present to you a very thought-provoking talk titled The Silent Sides and the Speaking Stone. How excavation and inscriptions correct each other's silences and biases and in the reconstruction of Indian history. Now you might want to ask, yahi topic kyun? Why a link between epigraphy and archaeology? This question had been on my mind ever since I interned at the Archaeological Survey of India in the Archaeology and Museum section. I got to deal with all the जो fascinating चीजें होती है, उन सारी चीजों से I got to deal with, जिनके बारे में I read throughout my college. 4 साल जो I read, I had the chance to deal with those. Now, as we have seen, historians working with ancient Indian history, we constantly confront the limits of our evidentiary base. एक तरफ हमारे पास जमीन से निकले हुए फिजिकल रिमेन्स होते हैं जो मेजरली साइलेंट होते हैं, and on the other hand we have stone inscriptions जो in reality, if deciphered, tells us a lot, लेकिन always with bias. Today we will explore what happens when these two primary disciplines, archaeology and epigraphy, are brought into direct conversation. Now moving on, what is history and what is a source? I believe not all of us are from the historical background. So I'll just give a very, very quick run through of what is history. History is not just dates. Someone died this year, someone annexed something this year. It's not just dates. History is lived realities. It is experience and human evolution, cultural evolution. To reconstruct history, we need sources. There are two major sources, primary and secondary. Primary being something that is first-hand account, and secondary being something that has been passed down or written according. Next slide, please. All right. How controversies and biases emerge. So everything, every source that we have throughout the years we have read, they are not the total truth. All the sources do have their own sort of biases, own sort of truths, or maybe their own interpretations in a way, and not a lot of lived realities of general public. For example, peasants, artisans, or even courtesans are not mentioned in those inscriptions or historical artifacts. Kings are shown as divine. For example, Ashoka considered himself Piyadasi. Akbar called himself Insani Kamil, the perfect man. Moving on, we have what is archaeology. Next slide, please. Yeah. What is archaeology? Just to give a very, very brief idea of what is archaeology. Archaeology is study of past through ancient material remains that we sometimes find through digging or maybe like through trenches. So throughout my year, throughout my months at ASI, I realized that not everything is always found at the surface. Not every artifact is found on surface. There are different levels of whatever artifacts are being found. And those levels define how old that particular thing might be or how old that civilization could be. And through carbon dating, they know how old a civilization could be. Similarly, what is epigraphy? Epigraphy, next slide, sir. Yeah, epigraphy is basically the study of carvings in stones, copper plates, or iron to reach. And this is something that we learned. Epigraphy is basically done to reach the common masses. It gives us the basic details: name, renal year, declarations, or political or cultural association of the kingdom or the king, if any. It also is written in different languages. For example, the Ashokan Edict was written in 3 different languages: Arabic, Aramaic, and Prakrit. I'm sorry. So all of these do give us the idea of how wide the language, the cultural association of a particular region could be. There is also Allahabad pillar, which was done by Hari Sena in a Kavya style. Kavya style is basically a prose to reach the masses, to make the people understand how Samudragupta was during that particular time period. And it is a Prashasti of Samudragupta. Furthermore, digital epigraphy. Digital epigraphy, as we all know, we are in the time period of artificial intelligence where everything is just online, we go on Google and we find something right there. That is why digital epigraphy has its own pros and biases itself. Digital epigraphy in a way will help us, the newer generation coming forth, in understanding the sources that are not there anymore or maybe are eroded throughout the time. But it also has certain biases linked to it. Biases could be something like OCR, not reading, or like maybe the AI making an issue out of it or something like that. Furthermore, please, next slide. Yeah. Now that I have given you all a very basic idea of what history is, sources are, and what is archaeology and epigraphy, we'll move further to structure this presentation. Let us look into our central question. How do archaeology and epigraphy, as interlinked but structurally distinct sources, correct each other's characteristics, silences in Indian history? And what happens historiographically when they are read in isolation rather than through an integrated triangulation? Our core hypothesis posits that archaeology is inherently mute. It gives us stratigraphy, material culture, and spatial layout, but lacks named agency and intentionality. Epigraphy, on the other hand, is more processing named agency, is voluble. It gives us name, dates, ideological claims, but is often very formulaic, self-serving, and elite-centered. जब हम इन दोनों को अकेले पढ़ते हैं तो हमें एक हाफ नोन ट्रूथ पता चलता है, but in reality what I have learned is इनका combination, studying both of these together, gives us the real historical truth. As pictured here, right in the background of the presentation, a site of Great Bath, Mohenjo-daro, can be extraordinarily sophisticated, yet remains structurally silent without legible self-description. Next. Well, let us begin. So, next slide. Yeah. Let us begin with our first conceptual archetype, the silent site exemplified by the Indus Valley civilization. A civilization I believe we all have heard thanks to our class 10 history books. A civilization that got excavated for the first time in 1921 under the overall direction of Sir John Marshall and excavated by Dayaram Sahni. Now, a major question you all might have through at least once was, why was it named Indus Valley Civilization? Why not something else? Well, the civilization has two different names, Indus Valley Civilization and Harappan Civilization. Indus Valley, as it was a civilization on the bank of Indus River, and Harappan Civilization because due to the fact that Harappa was the first site to be discovered by the Dayaram Sahni. After a century of excavations across Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, and Dholavira, we possess an astounding material record, standardized weights, planned grid streets, which literally crosses each other at just 90 degrees, cities with high citadels, advanced drainage systems, a system of drains that connected each other, each and every house, to a block drain and then to a main drain, and thousands of statite seals with information about trade, culture, society. लेकिन सब कुछ मिलने के बाद भी जब तक स्क्रिप्ट डिसाइफर नहीं होती, Indus Valley civilization will remain silent. And here lies the central dilemma of pure archaeology. Material culture underdetermines its own meaning. A post-hole pattern could be a granary, a shrine, or a chief's residence. Without legible self-description, archaeology risks becoming a monologue constructed entirely by the excavator. Next, please. On the opposite end of the spectrum, we have the speaking stone. When James Prinsep first deciphered Brahmi script in 1837, scattered sandstone pillars transformed into a documentary source of modern history. The Ashokan edicts supplied what excavation alone could never reveal: political ideology, administrative terms like Rajakas, Mahamatras, and explicit imperial voice. लेकिन हर लिखी हुई बात सच हो ये जरूरी नहीं है, क्योंकि Ashoka obviously had his own biases, his own way of writing things in the most exaggerated ways possible. Epigraphy presents its own trap, the Prashasti constraint. Inscriptions speak as self-serving advocates, following rigid templates of unbroken victory and ideal benevolence. If we trust the stone blindly, we mistake state propaganda for historical reality. Moving further, let us examine the monastic epigraphy at stupa sites like Sachi, Bharuch, and Amravati. For decades, historians relied heavily on normative textual codes, the Vinaya texts, which claimed Buddhist monks and nuns took strict vows of poverty. However, when scholar Gregory analyzed thousands of short donative inscriptions carved directly onto the Sanchi's railing pillars and gateway, a glaring contradiction emerged. Monks and nuns were the ones who पैसे donate कर रहे थे for the constructions of things, for the constructions of those stupas, for the constructions of those pillars. And textual rules कुछ और कह रहे थे, but संगीन की reality बिल्कुल अलग थी. Without the excavated physical stupa, these inscriptions are merely detached fragments of texts. Without the epigraphy, the excavated relic deposit remains mute objects. Triangulating both completely revolutionized our understanding of living ancient Buddhism. Furthermore, another case brings us to Nagarjunakonda and the issue of female royal patronage. Excavations at Nagarjunakonda reveals vast brick monastery grids, stupas, and royal quarters. But brick walls alone do not reveal who built them या क्यों बनाए गए थे. अब we won't know कि a stupa or a Viragal is being built by a woman और क्यों बनाए गए थे. औरतों के पास तो एजेंसी नहीं थी accordingly. Ancient India में we don't get a lot of sources written or being deciphered that is solely for women. The epigraphic record supplies this missing link. Inscriptions reveals that while Ikshvaku kings often performed Vedic sacrifices, royal women, most notably Princess Chamshiri, were the primary patrons financing these vast Buddhist vihars. अगर हम सिर्फ ब्रिक्स को देखें तो रॉयल वुमेन्स का एक ये कंट्रीब्यूशन हिस्ट्री से इरेज्ड रह गया है. Text and site together restores that female political agency and public patronage that excavated that brick walls alone would have left completely anonymous. Next, another study addresses the hero stones, viragals, and sati memorials. These are basically hybrid material epigraphic objects, sculpted stone reliefs depicting fallen warriors or self-immolating wives paired with short localized inscriptions. So viragals and hero stones, sati memorials, these gives us a more major understanding of how the society was on the grassroots level. Rather than it being exaggerated, it was rather written by people, a more localized version of an inscription. Big, huge patronage and royal edicts तो is understandable, but आम लोगों की history हमें इन्हीं local stones से पता चलती है. Courtly prashastis and major urban excavations rarely capture rural non-elite practices. Hero stones record hyperlocal events, a village hero dying during a cattle raid or defending a border. Furthermore, as feminist historians like Latamani and Tanika Sarkar have highlighted, analyzing actual physical memorial stones deconstructs prescriptive Brahminical myths, revealing localized and more heterogeneous social realities. Now let us look at the copper plate charters and the agrarian order. Thousands of copper plates, sets detailing royal land grants to Brahmanas served as the primary evidence for R.S. Sharma's famous Indian feudalism model. लेकिन copper plate पर लिख देने से जमीन magically appear नहीं होती है. Copper plates carry an inherent epigraphic ambiguity. They describe lavish privileges and precise boundaries, but cannot prove whether the granted land was newly cleared forest or already thriving farmland. As historians Harman Kulke pointed out, only settlement archaeology, mapping physical site density, and agrarian remains can verify if these charters represent real agrarian expansion or simply a reallocation of existing state taxes. Now, moving on to understand why archaeology and epigraphy were treated separately for so long, we must analyze the colonial severance of sources. When Alexander Cunningham founded the Archaeological Survey of India in 1861, colonial administration bifurcated field explorations from epigraphy. Inscriptions were physically detached from their structural find spots, copied as paper rubbings, and published in isolated volumes like Epigraphia Indica. इन दोनों ब्रांचेस को अलग करना बेसिकली ब्रिटिश एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन का एक तरीका था टू कंट्रोल द इंफॉर्मेशन. As scholars like Tapti Guha, Broaden-Indian, and Dilip Chakrabarti have argued, this imperial epistemology catalogued Indian history into neatly compartmentalized departments. Therefore, reuniting site and stone today is an active post-colonial decolonization of historical method. Now, this entire idea brings us to our analytical framework, source being critical triangulation. By triangulation, I mean cross checking evidences from different types of historical sources rather than relying on one single source, rather than relying on archaeology, say, just archaeology. We can't simply rely on archaeology or epigraphy solely or in isolation. In my talk, I specifically mean bringing archaeological evidence and epigraphic evidences together. Archaeology can tell us about physical remains, settlement patterns, and material context, while inscriptions give us name, date, identities, and even intentions. By reading them together, we can compensate for the limitations of each source. Borrowing Gayatri Spivak's framing of the subaltern epigraphy presents a paradox. Donors and subjects appear to speak, but they speak only within rigid, formulaic, and elite-sanctioned genres. असली हिस्ट्री तब निकल के आती है जब टेक्स्ट के दावे एंड जमीनी रियलिटी के बीच का फ्रिक्शन होता है. True historical insights occur at points of methodological friction. That critical gap where a royal inscription's grandiose claim clashes directly with the unglamorous physical stratigraphy found in the trench is the real idea of understanding a source. Now, to summarize these two methodologies side by side, let us look at the comparative parameters already on your screen. दोनों के अपने strength और अपनी अपनी limitations होती हैं. Regarding the nature of evidence, excavation yields mute material stratigraphy, while epigraphy gives us a voluble first-person text. For primary strengths, excavation reveals unglamorous physical reality and spatial settlement layout, whereas epigraphy gives us named agencies, dates, and explicit ideology. Finally, regarding risks in isolation, relying solely on excavation leads to mute positivism, whereas relying solely on epigraphy leads to literism. And in order to conclude, I would answer a very simple question. So, what does this comparison ultimately tell us? The archaeological site and the inscriptions are not competing ways of knowing the past. They are incomplete in different ways. Archaeology gives us the physical world, the settlement, the material remains, the spatial context, and the traces of everyday life, but often leaves us without names, intentions, or voices. Epigraphy, on the other hand, gives us name, dates, claims, identities, even sometimes whatever we need to know, how we understand it. But those voices are themselves shaped by power, purpose, and formulae. The important finding of this, therefore, is not that one source is more reliable when they are read against each other. The undeciphered Harappan script shows us the limits of material interpretation. Ashokan inscriptions demonstrate the value of named imperial voices. Sanchi and Nagarjunikonda shows how inscriptions can complicate normative narratives and recover otherwise invisible forms of agency. While hero stones and copper plate crans demonstrate how archaeological context can challenge overly broad interpretations drawn. This means that historical reconstruction cannot stop at either what a site contains or what an inscription says. We have to ask where the evidence is coming from, who produced it, what it leaves out, and whether another form of evidence supports or complicates it. In that sense, the silent site is never completely silent, and the speaking stone is never completely speaking for itself and the truth. It is only when we place the two in conversation through context, comparison, and source criticism that fragments of the past begins to form a more defensible historical narrative. And perhaps that is the larger methodological lesson of this research. History is not about making the past speak with absolute certainty. It is more about learning how to listen carefully, critically to everything that has survived and equally understand those. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sanskriti, for that comprehensive, elaborate, and a very detailed description of the topic. I believe you made it quite easy for all of us to infer the insights of something which is so imperative at the heart of the modern historiography. So the topic hits right at the heart of the contemporary historiography and how we are you know perceiving it and analyzing it. So you made it very easy for us, and it is definitely an interesting conclusion that you made, that we need to look beyond the rigid boundaries to infer what these sites or all these spaces have to tell us. So we need to look beyond those rigid disciplinary boundaries and need to be more critical and more nuanced readers of the past. So thank you so much, Sanskriti, for that presentation. Before we go ahead, we would like you to address a few questions that I believe our audience would like to ask you. The first, okay, so sorry for the internet issues. The first question that I can see here is what happens when the story we derive from a historical object conflicts with official or dominant historical narratives? So, what are your views about it?
So I can see that question. So basically, in my opinion, a dominant historical narratives are like more often constructed or maintained by those in powers, as we can see today also. It is more on the like levels of those who will control the power will have a more higher say in understanding those and justifying existing social structures or legitimizing institutions. And when a specific object reveals a contradictory story, it directly challenges those institutional authority, exposing those perspectives that may be built or bent around those that may have been intentionally marginalized or erased. And let me just go back to the second question.
Yeah, so
Can you continue?
yeah, should I repeat it? Or would you
Um,
like me to answer,
yeah, yeah.
put up the second question?
Sure, whatever feels fine.
Yeah, all right. So I believe the question is well answered. The other question that we have here is by Shubham, and he is asking how can contemporary technologies such as 3D scanning, AI, and digital archaeology help us listen to objects that have remained silent for centuries?
So basically, sometimes these artificial intelligence or digital archaeology, as I mentioned, digital epigraphy, can help us listen to these objects by, say, there are certain cracks. There are certain cracks that could be understood as maybe like an epigraphic mark. Those could not be seen through naked eyes. So AI can literally help us formulate what are marks, cracks, or say maybe just mere scratches rather than an epigraphic evidence. So I hope that was answered.
Yes, it definitely has been
All
answered.
right.
And I think we just had two questions as of now. But I would like you to address another question that we asked to all of our speakers, which is about your experience with the team and considering the fact that it's not your first talk with the platform. So, how do you see this journey with the platform so far?
Surprisingly, this is my second talk in the same month, in the same week. So last year, I gave the talk in August in the same week itself. And it has already been amazing, both on a professional and personal level. I really love connecting with Manish sir, Manvi ma'am, and everyone from the team, and also get a more nuanced idea of whatever how the research is going on. So Manvi ma'am was honestly the one who helped me a little bit with my research throughout the years. So it has been great.
Thank you so much, Sanskriti. And we would hope that this is definitely not your second or the last talk. We would like to see you more as a speaker and also as a participant in the upcoming sessions as well. But definitely, thank you so much for your contribution. And it was really a very interesting talk from your end. So, congratulations for that. So, with that being
Thank you
said,
so
it is
much.
now time to invite, or I should say, re-invite our honorable guest of honor for the evening. So, sir, I would like you to give your insights, comments, and suggestions on the topic presented by Sanskriti and on the platform as well. So, over to you, sir.
Yeah. Um, Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak and keep my insights on this. First of all, a big congratulations for Sanskriti for presenting wonderfully. The topic itself is vast and it has a deep gravity. So you have done good justice to it. The topic has been well covered. As I said, that the subject itself is pretty strong. I love the title. It is very evocative, and I'll definitely say that the use of the metaphors are nicely done. The research question that has been addressed is pretty strong, and it has been clearly articulated. And the scope and the selection area has been studied well. She began from the Harappan civilization and continued till early medieval period, which is a pretty long span, and quoted important inscriptions like the undeciphered Harappan script, the early historic Buddhist scripts found in stupas, Sanchi, and Amravati, and then the copper plate inscriptions, which is usually prevalent in southern India, etc. So she has covered most of it. Um, she has also reviewed the existing literature available on archaeology and epigraphy. And the overall structuralizations, the sequencing, and the flow of the presentation was pretty nice. Now, there are things which need some improvement or better clarity. So I'll keep them in front of you. For example, at the opening stage of the presentation, the approach that archaeology and epigraphy corrects each other is well. It's good to catch the attention, but while as we approach towards the conclusion, it should have been like that archaeology and epigraphy, they both complement each other. They do not correct each other, but they complement each other and contextualize each other. So, as an archaeologist working in ASI, I would first of all like to clarify that even inscriptions are treated as an antiquity and they form a part of archaeology. Archaeology, the subject, is a very broad subject. It encompasses everything that humankind has done in past. So archaeology includes bit from all subjects. So epigraphy essentially is not a separate subject. It is a specialization within Archaeological Survey of India. So, as I said, that the Antiquity and Art Treasure Act of 1972, it classifies epigraphy or written records on stone surfaces, pillars as antiquity. So, as long as the inscription is on a fixed wall, let us say it is on a wall of a temple or it is carved on a rock surface, it will be classified as a monument if it is declared as a monument. Otherwise, if it is movable, it has been detached, then it can be taken to a museum, preserved in a museum. At that point of time, it can be classified as an antiquity. Now, having said that, the ultimate target of archaeology or epigraphy is basically to rewrite the history in the correct way. What we call in historiography as objective history writing. So they are definitely not to be seen as isolated sources. They are very much, their focus remains the same, that they want to establish the correct history. And as Sanskriti highlighted, that everything needs to be cross-checked with each other. So if there is something archaeological evidence that is coming up from an excavation site, we need to look what are the literary sources saying. For example, a lot of Indian history comes from the Puranic literature, but that has been written with a religious point of view. Similarly, their inscriptions are usually royal declarations. So, as Sanskriti mentioned, that they are bound to have some sort of exaggerations towards the king. Any scribe who would be basically writing will have to, sort of praise the king, which we call eulogize, like writing eulogy or prashasti. So definitely it will be an exaggeration. So we have to sort of filter out the right information from the Puranic literature, from the epigraphical context, and then match it with what exactly we are getting in an archaeological dig, the material evidence. Now, coming to another observation, that although a lot of geographical and timeline has been covered, but I still believe that the regional languages has not been mentioned. So Sanskriti may note that a lot of inscription has been written post-Gupta period, we have the regionalization of Indian languages to commence. And by 8th, 9th century, all the modern Indian languages, be it Bengali, Marathi, Odia, they are in their formative stage. So inscriptions also cover that, and that helps in understanding the local area. So that should have been made a part of the paper. Then we talk about how archaeology and epigraphy, complement each other or fills up that void space, the unanswered space. So examples should have been given at least once. For example, let us say the Prayag Prashasti. You mentioned it in your talk. So Prayag Prashasti talks about that Samudragupta probably conquered most of the India and even in the southern India as well. But when you do archaeological excavations, the material evidence does not say so. I mean, there is no substantial cultural evidence that the Guptan culture, the material culture in the Gupta period, that was pushed into southern India. We do not find such clear evidences. So definitely at such point of time, archaeology is helping to correctly read the inscription that maybe there was some sort of power exercising over the southern India, but the Guptas never directly controlled the southern India. Southern India was independently ruled by various kingdoms like Vakatakas, who were important contemporaries of the Guptas in northern India. Similarly, um, although it might be a little controversial to say at this point of time, an example where an inscription is compelling us to sort of rethink about the archaeological site is, let us say, the example of the Pulakeshin seconds eye hole inscription, the eye hole Prashasti. It talks about an important site called Puri in the western coast of India near the Konkan region. So after a lot of study, the Dharapuri caves, or as we call it, the Elephanta caves, has been identified with the site. Now, what is important to note here that previously it was the general perception that the Dharapuri caves or these caves were, sporadic artistic expressions of the local people. But when Pulakeshi talks that he goes to the western coast and conquers this city called Puri, which is now identified with Dharapuri, debatable although, so it helps us rethink that if the site is of importance. And so ASI, Mumbai Circle, has recently launched excavation. And in excavation, we are now seeing that proper planned layout in the Elephanta Island. So that re-establishes the fact that it is not a sporadic artistic creation that somebody went over there, a group of monks, and they excavated out the Elephanta cave. It was a proper settlement. So in this way, both archaeology and epigraphy, they kind of like, complement each other. Also, one more important thing that needs to be highlighted, since I particularly work with Hayside, so epigraphy and archaeology has never been dealt separately, and they are definitely two not separate offices. Archaeological Survey of India was founded in 1886, and almost the same time the epigraphy branch came up. Now, the reason that the epigraphy directorate in ASI is in southern India, it is because that, as I said, that all rock in all inscriptions are not movable. The ones which are basically detached from the monument, they can be moved and kept in a museum. But for all others which are now fixed in the inside the walls of the temples or the caves, they have to be manually copied. And back in those days, there was no photocopying or scanning or photography. So the epigraphists, they would basically manually copy by applying ink on the inscription and then taking an imprint of that on a piece of paper. Those are called estampages. And ASI is very proud to say that we have more than 1 lakh estampages. Many of them are almost 100 years old now. So they almost have attended that antiquity. They have become antiquity in themselves. So Mysore was chosen to be the directorate of epigraphy or study of inscriptions. It is because it was a suitable climate. So paper would not survive in the heat and the extreme temperature fluctuations which usually happens in Delhi. Like we all know, the Delhi gets super hot in summer and super cold in winter. Plus, there's a long humid season as well. Bangalore, Mysore relatively would have a pleasant climate, which is usually more suitable for storing these paper copies, because many a times it has happened that what we have now is only the copy of the inscription, the stampage, and the original inscription is lost due to human vandalism or construction. So the epigraphy, so to preserve them, the Directorate of Epigraphy has been kept at Southern India in Mysore, whereas the rest of the Directorate of ASI or the headquarters is in Delhi. So the whole idea is that these two are not two different subjects or disciplines. They are very much under archaeology. Archaeology, as I said in the beginning, it is a very much umbrella term. It encompasses many things. So they are they complement each other and help. Ultimate aim is to write history in a better way. So with this, I conclude. And once again, Sanskriti, it's a very good attempt. And I love the presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your words again. And we were really very inspired, and like the insights that you gave. I'm very much sure that the scholars here would have found them really very helpful if they are interested in any of these domains of archaeology, history, or epigraphy in particular. So, thank you, sir, for joining us today and sharing your valuable time with us. And like on behalf of the entire team and people present here, we would definitely like to praise you that you have the contributions that you are making to preserve India's rich history and bringing it to life through modern technology is truly a very remarkable endeavor indeed. And we are deeply grateful to have your time and intellect with us today. So thank you so much, sir. So moving forward, as we saw that today's session took us into the past, where we explored how ancient India recorded its identity through stone, soil, and inscriptions, and how we build historical trust by bringing archaeology and epigraphy together. On the next Sunday, we will jump from these ancient records to modern ledgers, and we will explore the topic of digital securities in India. So, to talk more about this topic and to introduce us with the objectives and the highlights of the session for the next Sunday, the next session of GSTS, I would now like to invite Mr. Hardik to please come up and introduce himself and his topic to the audience here.
Uh, Thank you so much for inviting me. Hi everyone, my name is Hardik, and I'm a recent law graduate from Campus Law Center, University of Delhi, and I carry a great obsession about corporate law and capital market regulations. And right now, I'm also practicing in the same field, and I've been looking into how the private equity deals and how startups are raising funds. And so that's why I decided, why don't I speak about how digitally this thing has developed. So now think about the Indian stock market in the India in the early 1990 era, wherein there were paper share certificates, there were endless delays, and there were constant settlement crises. And now look at today, wherein we have around 150 million demat accounts settling trades overnight. And we love to credit apps and technology for this massive leap, but the real catalyst is something entirely different. It is a rigid, sweeping, and often hidden legal architecture. So next week we will be presenting on the exact transformation. We will be exploring the friction between technological capabilities and the strict statutory enforcements, how this invisible legal plumbing actually works, and where the market is heading next. For example, let, let me give you a hint that it involves a frontier of tokenized assets. So I won't be giving you the whole story just away right now, but our objectives for the next week's session will completely change how you view the efficiency of our financial markets. So I would request everyone to join me for next week, wherein we will be discussing about the digital securities in India, wherein we will be speaking about the legal and market revolutions. Hoping to see you all too next week.
Thank you so much, Hardik. And yes, we would again like to invite you all to be a part of GSTS 286 on next Sunday at 5 p.m. So while today we understood how we read the world of yesterday, the history of yesterday, the next week will be about how we own the value of tomorrow. So, with that being said, thank you all for joining us today. And we all look forward to seeing you next Sunday with another very insightful talk. And with that, I would now like to hand over the stage to Dr. Manish Karwa to take up the first
Samriddhi, I
question.
think you have to announce the next the speaker of the week. Yeah,
Yeah, so
month.
we just did. Hardik just gave his
No,
introduction.
speaker of the month, Pavani Bhar. I think Yama. Manvi, go ahead.
Acha,
Okay.
okay, all right. So
Okay. So Samriddhi, are okay? Like you'd been announcing?
I think there are some network connectivity issues at mine. If it would be better if you could announce
Yeah,
it.
yeah. No issues. No issues. Okay. So we as the jury and our team decided that for the speaker of the month for July, we have Pavni Bhargav, and she gave a talk on the UNESCO heritage site Sarnath. And when she actually gave the talk, it was not selected as the UNESCO, the World Heritage Site. But the coincidence was that after the talk was delivered, and I guess after 2 days later, Sarnath was also declared as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and that was a very good coincidence. So, Pavni, congratulations to you, and I would like to call you to say a few words.
Thank you, Manvi Didi, for the Speaker of the Month award being regarded to me. And it was purely a coincidence. After 2 days, Sarnath got a UNESCO World Heritage Site status. And I'm grateful for the platform GSTS to give me this opportunity to deliver the talk. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I think now moderators going to hand it over to me for the vote of thanks. So before vote of thanks, as Simi ma'am knows that I'll invite Dr. Simi Kapoor Mehta ma'am for her remarks, the wonderful students you are producing and wonderful speakers for the GSTS. So I think over to you for a quick remark, Dr. Simi.
Thank you, Manishji. It's been a pleasure to be here, today. And I just sat through the whole thing. Sometimes I don't have time, but many a times I skip in the end. And last time when Pavani gave her talk, I did hear, but then I was not able to, join for the comments. It's congratulations, Pavni. It's a very special day for me. One of my students gets a speaker of the month, and the other presented a talk here today. So this is something to be really proud of. And Bhavni also did it second time. Sanskriti did it for the second time. And I saw a marked change in Sanskriti's performance this time. There was a lot of improvement and she's very confident, no doubt, but even more confident this time she was. And there's one thing, Matab sir, Rahul sir had given an elaborate explanation, and which I think even I cannot do, because he has an expertise over the archaeological part which I don't have. But one thing, if I would like to point out, being a teacher, I have this, I don't know, knack of finding faults. And one little fault that I found was Sanskriti, Kavya is not prose. Okay, and so you cannot say कि काव्य prose होता है, काव्य prose नहीं होता, काव्य poetry होता है बच्चे. And this was a slip from your side, but I could make out. So as a teacher, I could not just let it go. And rest, sir has pointed out very nicely. I think thanks to you, Rahul sir, the kind of way you explained, it was so good, not only for the students who are hearing it at the moment. In fact, I had invited my first year students, ancient Indian history, to join, and I'm sure if they've heard it, they would have gained so much. Even I gained. The thing when in fact Sanskrit told me the topic, I was that there, and then this thing had struck me, ki why she's mentioning epigraphy separately. But then it's okay. Like she had a certain she said ki I have been consulting some people, so I thought probably they're experts. And but anyhow, sir has clarified it, and how archaeology being an umbrella term, and the epigraphy comes in it very beautifully he's put it. And but Sanskriti, very well done. The way you presented it, you tried to bring up whatever you could, and next time it'll be, I think, even better than this. So all the best to all of you. And Manish sir, thank you for giving my students this platform. And and your team is so supportive. Yesterday I could see from one of your students, before Sanskriti sent me this poster, I had seen this poster आप लोगों के बच्चों के status पर, and because their numbers are with me, so their status keep on popping up. So it was very nice. And they are advertising about GSTS. This is what I can tell you. They are doing a good job. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Simi ma'am. Always listening to you. It's a fantastic idea. And they are spreading GSTS. We are in 285. So I think now the next speaker definitely gives us some idea, a startup idea, how we promote GSTS. Because as a professor, as a student, I know that we are reaching towards the 300, but still we are not popularized, or we are not circulated enough to reach everyone. And but right now I have only 120 seconds to wrap up the things. It's a quite interesting. The last Pauni Bhargav gave us a wonderful idea about the Sarnath, and after 2 days, Sarnath got a UNESCO heritage. And right now, one of my scholar from Ethiopia, he also joined to listen archaeology, because the Ethiopia in the Ethiopia, and also Zimbabwe, Great Zimbabwe, there are the huge structure, and if you connect Indian archaeologists, so Professor B.B. Lal, and he also excavated, I think, Egypt. Because I'm not an ancient Indian scholar, student, but I recollect because we met several times, Professor Mani, Professor B.B. Lal, and Sanjeev Kumar Singh in your office, that Archaeological Survey of India, and that was now the whole structure has been changed. When I was a student, ancient India, really for everyone, ancient India was the very interesting, because ancient India we have to learn anthropology, sociology, you name the subject, every subject in the ancient India, and archaeology, one of the best, one of the most fascinating idea. And as a modern Indian student, and always teach one paper when I was in the college, one paper for ancient India, because that incorporated so many things: religion, mythology, sociology, archaeology. So it's been fantastic. And that's why today's the day belongs to Miss Jha, Sanskriti Jha. As named, Sanskriti and Jha both are carrying the same culture, one culture of India and one culture of Bihar. So it's a wonderful to listen to Sanskriti. And always, this is your second time. Today you are a little bit fast, because I think you took a whole idea. It's a bigger idea. That day also, I told you that little bit slow, but you took a large, from ancient to every part and parcel. Otherwise, always listening to you again, it's a good understanding about the history, and history is all about just Rahul ji and Simi ma'am just told, it's a holistic objectivity and subjectivity, not epigraphy, not numismatic, and not other part. If we combine the whole idea, it gives you a history. So Sanskriti, thank you very much for giving us a wonderful remarks. And as always, moderator, Samriddhi, we know each other since you are in first year, BA first year. Now you are doing PhD. So it's fantastic to moving forward with you. I want more input from your side, and always Rahul Bakshi ji, aapko sunna real में it's a fantastic. Why it's fantastic? Because horse's mouth. That means we are listening from where we are doing all the things. When I was a student, we went to the archaeology ASI frequently, and now these days, because I'm a part of NAI, National Archive of India, as a member of purchasing committee, a huge purchase is so I was a member of NAI, but still, it's always fascinates archaeology. And but one thing, because now these days, from last so many years, I attached with the Africa also, and you know, right now the marine archaeology going to be boom. इससे ये काफी important marine archaeology काफी important हो रहा है ना. We are little bit slow. That means we are little bit slow to find out so many. I know there are the bureaucratic hurdles every time when I was a student and right now also, and because people do not understand other than history, people do not understand why Deccan University, why BHU, and why Jivaji University. So history is not only job, and archaeology, studying archaeology, it's not only job, it's a life, because everything starts from the archaeology and it leads towards the Akbarnama and Babarnama and Akbarnama and towards the archive. But archaeology is the baseline. So thank you, Rahulji, for listening to you. And someday when I move there, I definitely will meet and discuss so many things. Yes. And all my scholars from different colleges, department, and thank you very much, Principal Samlal Evening College, faculty member Samlal Evening College, IQS in charge and the teacher in charge of Samlal Evening College. Thank you very much, and I'm very interested to listen then how startup gives us a sense. So thank you very much, and the two words that Rahulji also and Simi ma'am, that was the slip of tongue. I think Sanskriti, Sanskriti se slip of tongue ho gaya hoga. Otherwise, her idea was fantastic. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. We'll meet again in the coming session. And thank you, that the speaker of the month. I'll hand it over a memento in my chamber in my room, 16, Department of African Studies at University of Delhi. And Rahulji, in Africa, people are doing so much in archaeology. बहुत काम हो रहा है वहाँ पे भी. So, okay, definitely we'll meet and we'll discuss about that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Simi ma'am.